But guess what? The Jewish students at Columbia are still protesting. And do you know what I find really kind of interesting about this is, so do you guys remember back in 2020 with the BLM protests where the left would always say that the white people have to be in the front at the BLM protests because white people have white privilege and they are and they have all the power and therefore they should be in the front and put themselves in the most dangerous position while all the black people are in the back at the BLM protest? Does everyone remember this? The reason they did that is it's part of progressive stack, or what I sometimes have called the woke oppression hierarchy. They call it progressive stack, though. And it's basically their ranking system in order of who has the most intersectionality oppression points, or who is the most oppressed by capitalism, and who has the least intersectionality points, or the least oppressed by capitalism. And what they want to do is they say, okay, all you people that aren't really oppressed by capitalism, what you need to do is make up for the fact that you're not as oppressed by capitalism by oppressing yourselves and putting yourself in danger so that you can protect all of us. And so the rule was in the 2020 protests that the white people had to be in front and the black people had to be in back. Does everyone remember this? I'm not making this up. This was actually a thing. Well, let's fast forward to 2025. And what do we know about the left in regards to Israel? We know that the left is supporting Palestine in this, not because they really care about Palestinians at all, and not because they really care about Muslims at all. Although there are activists on the left that have been Free Palestine activists for a long time. I'm not talking about those people. Those people do legitimately care. Most of those people come from Palestine, have family in Palestine, have some sort of connection to the region. So those are actually real people that really do care. But most of the people who are protesting on the left today, as we know because we watch them all the time, are radical revolutionary socialists. They're socialists. They want a revolution in this country. And so what they do is they latch onto issues and they co-opt them to use them to recruit and radicalize more people to the far left. Okay? So when I'm talking about the college protesters in this case, what I'm talking about are the radical revolutionary socialists that are co-opting this issue in order to try to radicalize more people to the far left. So what do the protesters believe about Israel and Palestine? They believe that the Israelis are the evil settler colonists. Settler colonists means they privatized the land, they colonized or colonialized the land and privatized it under the oppressive force of capitalism. That means they stole the land from the indigenous people and then said, we control this and you can only be on it if we say so. And so that's why they don't like the Israelis. It has nothing to do with them being Jewish. It's because the Israelis are the settler colonists and the Palestinians are the oppressed, colonized people that had their land stolen from them. And the Palestinians are in a decolonization effort to try to overthrow their capitalist oppressors. That is why the protesters on the left support the Palestinians over Israel. It has nothing to do with Muslim anything. It has nothing to do with Islam anything. It has nothing to do with Palestinians. Some of them are legitimate anti-war activists. Okay, fine. But mostly they dislike Israel because Israel are the settler colonists, not because they're Jewish. It doesn't really matter that they're Jewish. They dislike them because they're the settler colonists, okay? So the left sees what's going on in the Middle East as a very literal oppressor versus oppressed narrative. And they are always going to be on the side of the oppressed. So now, let's combine the two. Going back to 2020, we know that white people had to stand in front of black people during the BLM protests, okay? Let's apply that to what we're seeing now. The people protesting the strongest in opposition to the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Columbia student who the Trump administration is trying to deport, basically because he was speaking up at the pro-Palestine protests. Not that he did anything wrong, he didn't commit any crime, just because he said things the Trump administration doesn't like. The people protesting the loudest to try to overcome the deportation order are who? The Jewish students, the Jewish organizations. And we're seeing that again right now. Today at Columbia, Jewish students are chained to Columbia University gates demanding the name of the trustees that reported Mahmoud Khalil to ICE. Dozens of NYPD officers are here. Jewish students, you say? And Breakthrough News was covering this as well. And we've seen this group protesting several times. This is Jewish Voices for Peace. This one guy's wearing a yarmulke. He is literally wearing a yarmulke at the protests. Breaking, Columbia students changed themselves to the gates from Mahmoud Khalil. Members of Jewish Voice for Peace are demanding the university disclose the names of the trustees who shared Khalil's information with ICE. There have been protests about the students who Trump is trying to deport all over the country. There's also a protest today in Boston, which is where Tufts University is. There's also a Tufts student that Trump is trying to deport. We're seeing these things pop up all over the place. But my point is this. The people leading the resistance are the Jewish people. So why are they leading the resistance? Because on the left, they believe the Jewish people are the oppressors. They're the settler colonists, and they are trying to oppress the Palestinian protesters because they are saying words that the administration doesn't like. Maybe not trying to oppress. Maybe I phrased it wrong. Let me try phrasing that again. The Jewish students are protesting because they're representative of the oppressor in the situation, and here it is. I got it. And they are using their power to be in opposition to the oppression of the oppressed groups that they're protesting for. That's a much better way to describe it. Does everyone understand that? It's like when white people were using their power to protect black people, now Jewish people are using their power to protect Palestinians. It is exactly the same framework. The left operates in exactly the same way at all times. And if you understand the language of the left, this is why we spend so much time decoding the language and really getting very, very pedantic about the definitions, because the definitions are everything. The definitions are all that matters. And it doesn't matter what you specifically, person listening on the internet, it doesn't matter what your definition is. It matters what their definition is. The left's definitions are all that matters when it comes to understanding the left, because the left's behaviors are going to follow what the left believes. And in this case, the left is not anti-Semitic, no matter how many times conservative influencers say it. There are literally Jewish students protesting what's going on in Palestine, and the reason they're doing it is because they perceive Israel to be the evil settler colonists who are trying to oppress the Palestinians, and so the Jewish students have Jewish privilege in this case, and they are using their Jewish privilege to stick up for the people who are being oppressed by the settler colonists. Everyone, if you don't understand that, please ask a question in the chat. I just wanted to talk about this to demonstrate that it is literally exactly the same thing that happened at the BLM protests in 2020, because the left is completely consistent. Completely consistent. I see someone saying they're wackadoo in the chat. No. If someone behaves logically at every single point, they are not wackadoo. That is a retarded take. They are not wackadoo if they behave consistently every single time. What is wackadoo is when people on the right refuse to understand why the left is doing what they're doing, because the people on the right then completely miss the point and go, they're just anti-Semites, they're Jew haters, they're anti-Semites, they're Jew haters. They're not anti-Semites, they're not Jew haters, that's not what they're doing. And you can see this right now, unless you think this is just a bunch of like self-hating Jews that are protesting at Columbia. Makes no sense. Anyway, we'll be following this along. Of course, I'm constantly monitoring the college protests and the campus protests, and I'll let you guys know if anything new and different happens. It's just like if we covered every single thing that happened at these protests, we'd literally be talking about it every single day, because there's always things happening at these protests. Naruto in with the super chat. I saw a rabbi said in front of Congress last week in a hearing on anti-Semitism, it's not enough to say you're not anti-Semitic. You must be anti-Semitic. I DM'd you the link. Yeah, I saw that clip. I saw that clip all over the place. And again, this is another great example. That rabbi testifying in front of Congress saying it's not enough to be anti-Semitic. You have to be anti-Semitic is exactly the same thing as Ibram X. Kendi in 2020 saying it's not enough to not be racist. You have to be actively anti-racist. It uses, I don't know how you can get closer to using exactly the same language structure of the left and still have people on the right not get it. I have no idea. So that's what's going on with the campus protest.